All right. Hey, for those of you who are live with us, you saw a little intro from Shea. What was some of the? I mean, golf is such a mental thing, just like a lot of sports. But I feel like you always hear it in golf.
I was ruined for a little while
Yeah.
with my golf game, kind of lost,
Yeah.
and then going and getting into teaching and learning how to teach. I just assumed because I was a good golfer, I could teach golf.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just like clearing your head, not having to worry about how to get rid of that slice, right? And I was like, oh yeah, like I know that. But like just hearing that was very different. It's like, hey, everybody has a heartbeat, everybody has problems, everybody has ups and downs. And so just hearing that was like, yeah. What is some of the things that you use? You may be giving away some tricks here.
He's like, well, could be worse, could be getting shot at. And that has always stuck with me.
Wow.
I tell that story regularly on the lesson tee because it was so impactful to me that just that simple statement, it could be shot at, because I know I'm talking to somebody that's been shot at.
But hey, I'm super excited. Welcome to the Bear Fruit Show, where we have Shea, Sena. Is that right?
Sena. Yeah,
Sena.
I've been called worse.
Sena or Sena. And I'm super excited for him to be here today. And a golf pro, has been in the area for a long time and grew up in Cortez. And then you started playing golf when you were a kid, maybe?
Yeah, about 10 years old, picked up a golf club for the first time, switched over from baseball over to golf. Started taking it super seriously around 14. Played high school golf, got a college golf scholarship to play up at University of Boulder, or University of Colorado in Boulder.
Yeah.
Played golf there for a year and a half, turned professional.
Okay.
Went down to Arizona, started playing down there, reconnected with a person that's a mentor of mine now named Drew Reed, and started teaching with him.
Yeah.
Couldn't quite afford to just play golf, and so I needed to supplement the income and started teaching, and essentially found my real calling, I think, my real passion.
Nice. I love it. What was the transition like from going from high school and then moving down to Phoenix to play pro ball, like the chase, literally a childhood dream? Like, what was that?
Yeah, it was,
like?
I mean, it was significantly different. Like you said, I grew up in Cortez, and I felt like maybe we'll call it a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon, going down to Phoenix in particular, it's a golf mecca, especially for good golfers. It's like where a lot of great golfers that play on tour and such start their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty quickly got, humbled with my game, I'll say. Found out it was going to be a little tougher than I realized. But had some great experiences down there. Played pretty much full time for a couple years. Found out pretty quickly that I don't know that I was good enough. I definitely couldn't afford it.
Yeah. It's kind of, it sounds like it's kind of like pro baseball. It's like, oh yeah, they went pro, but then they're in like the single A and they're riding around on buses and they're making, less than minimum wage.
Correct. Yeah. Usually, a lot of years you're losing money when you take into account expenses.
Yeah.
And it's very top heavy. The tournaments on the mini tours and stuff, very, very top heavy. So
what do you mean by top heavy?
Like if you're not placing top 3 or so,
okay,
you're probably not making any money.
You're not making any.
No, you might be breaking even.
Wow.
And the competition is really, really stout. You got some names out there that maybe used to play on the big tour that either had an injury or something happened. Just their game wasn't quite good enough. They're still playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so your competition, and you got players that are going to be playing on the big tour soon.
Yeah.
Played with a few guys that were very impressive.
What was some of the, I mean, golf is such a mental thing, just like a lot of sports, but I feel like you always hear it in golf. What was some of the things that you learned that you had to transition from just playing in Cortez into the pros? Like, was there a big aha shock that you had to learn how to play with that? I guess kind of like almost like big stage type feel and playing around some of these players.
Sure. In a way, like my personal experience was, if I could go back and do it again, I think that I thought that I needed to get better in some areas that I didn't, so I actually started changing some things, that probably were my strengths instead of really targeting the weaknesses.
Okay.
I was almost, again, I kind of working through some of the things that I was already good at and changing those and actually turned them into some weaknesses, through that work. Right.
I do that in golf all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I should have stuck with what I was good at, And so that's something that, I've heard it, I do a lot of research and everything, of course, around, I'm in the field. So a lot of people talk about, pros, especially at a high level, sometimes get out there and they feel like they have to change the DNA of what they already do well.
Mm-hmm.
And that can work to their detriment, that can essentially kind of ruin to a certain extent. I was ruined for a little while with my golf game, kind of lost, and even when I started to teach, to be honest with you, I was very, very much self-taught. I didn't really have any formal lessons. I definitely had help along the way, but not anything real formal. and then going and getting into teaching and learning how to teach, I just assumed because I was a good golfer, I could teach golf. You know, like a lot of people.
Yeah, you see that a lot. I
Yeah.
feel like they're, and then you see it with coaches all across all the boards. Like they're an amazing player, but for whatever reason, they just can't teach it.
Sure. Communication skills and just an understanding. I didn't even understand what I did. You know, but it was like a gift and a curse.
You didn't even know why you were so good.
I was like, I don't know why I'm good, but
I'm amazing at this. Why can't you just do
thinking
this?
about why I'm good and starting to work on it, that's when things went downhill a little bit. You know,
to
a certain extent, because I got in my head.
Yeah.
Yep. Started letting the unconscious wasn't there anymore.
How do you get out of your head?
For me, it was experience, experience and kind of awareness. Awareness that I'm in my head and that there's a time and a place essentially to work on your improvement. And that could be in golf, at least it's the driving range and short game area when you're practicing. And then when you go out to the golf course, hopefully you're shutting that down for the most part and you're able to
just not thinking about it.
You're not thinking about it as much. You should put enough preparation in that those, be it movements that you're trying to change, have become more automatic.
Yeah.
Is in the perfect world, that's the way it's going to typically play out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just like clearing your head, not having to worry about how to get rid of that slice. Like at the driving range, you just go out and play.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you just gotta dance with who you brought. You know, if you're a slicer, embrace it. Yeah.
Aim way over to the left.
Way left and let that thing ride.
That's awesome. I'm gonna fix this cord real quick. So you mentioned a mentor. Who was that when you got down to Phoenix and you said you got to teach and coach with him a little bit? What was that like? Because it sounds like you've had mentors growing up, but it sounds like maybe the first mentor that really helped you go to that next level.
From a golf instruction standpoint, and even a golf business standpoint. His name's Drew Reed, Australian gentleman, still down in Phoenix.
He's got a cool accent.
Successful, got a cool accent. He doesn't have to be any good at what he's doing. He's just talks.
People just give him money. It's like,
exactly.
oh yeah.
And they're just like, they pay him to talk.
You didn't want to put up the accent.
His funniest thing is he says, "Listen, I'm not your puppet." You try to get him to say things, especially tuna, because he says tuner. And but yeah, so he's got that accent, so he's got it made. I tried it.
You tried it.
Buying it.
You're not Australian or English or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of just kept flipping back and forth. It didn't work. So, but yeah, he helped me and he still continues to guide me. I talk to him very, very regularly. We spend time together most summers where he'll come up and bring some students up. But
nice.
He's very much still a mentor. It essentially taught me I didn't know anything about golf instruction.
Wow.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Again, being
like
a player,
kind of
I assumed I could go help everybody learn how to play better golf. And that wasn't the case. So he taught me some structure especially for the golf lessons, that there's a process to it to helping somebody get better. And it needs to be structured. It helps to have a process. Helps both the student and quite frankly, the instructor. Put us all at ease.
Like systems and processes.
Yeah, essentially a system and process to go through it and break it down and be able to target the right thing first, and then move on from there.
Yeah.
And then from a business standpoint, I have a ton of respect for him. He's built a phenomenal business down in Phoenix with academies placed at multiple golf courses, continues to do really, really well. And somebody essentially I aspire from a business standpoint in my line of work to do something very similarly.
Nice.
Yeah. Not necessarily have a bunch of golf academies, but be a successful successful golf instructor and help a bunch of people. And, be able to live that life for as long as possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. Like you get to play in that game of like just the game that you grew up as a child. And now you get to, and then you played pro and now, you're getting to coach people. Like it doesn't get much better than that.
No, it doesn't. And help people through, especially a lot of the youngsters that come through. I've been fortunate enough to work with some really good junior golfers and essentially help them hopefully not make some of the same mistakes I did.
Yeah.
Like people did for me too.
Yeah.
Along the way.
What's some of the biggest things you tell some of the youngsters that you see that have maybe some serious potential to
to calm down, quite frankly. Like that's a big one. It's tough for.
You probably tell some of the older guys out there too. You need to calm down.
Get the couch out, get the notepad out. Yeah. But a lot of it's just take it easy.
Yeah.
For a lot of them, helping them understand that it's essentially a marathon, not a sprint. So there's a process to it. And the ones that buy into it seem to do absolutely phenomenal. The other thing I tell them all the time is it's all about hard work.
Yeah.
You can work smart and everything, but you have to put in the effort. It's not going to come easy. It hasn't for anybody, and it's never will,
Mm.
you know? And so, yeah, that they have to go put in all the hours,
Yeah.
working and honing their skills.
How many hours do you think you have to put into golf just to
to
be
be
decent?
Like,
let's just say bogey golf.
Bogey golf, it depends on the person.
Sure. Like the skill level.
Yeah, it's so individual. Skill level, past experience.
Yeah.
We were talking about before we started the podcast about
It's athleticism.
people maybe involved. Yeah, oops, sorry. In other sports,
Mhm.
and being able to, they transition a little better typically to golf.
Yeah.
There's, parallels that we can draw on that help them. But so I don't think there's really a like clear cut answer. I would just say whatever somebody envisions, probably times it by 10. And that should get them pretty close.
It's like, okay, I got to put in like an hour, hour a day. Now it's
it's like
10 hours a day.
Right?
Yeah.
If you go and you work out for 2 hours or whatever one day, and you do that once a month, you're not going to see any results.
Yeah.
Right. But if somebody goes and they work out for 30 minutes, 5 days a week, they're going to see some results.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more about the consistency and the frequency to me versus essentially the load.
Yeah.
Cram for the test kind of
thing. Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, consistently every day for 30 minutes, I'm going to work on whatever it is.
Exactly.
And that will get you a lot better than coming out to the range once a week, hitting a bucket of balls and say, I did whatever.
Yeah. And it's about having a plan.
Yeah.
It's about having a plan before you show up, not coming up with a plan as you're there.
Oh,
right?
I do that. I show up with I don't show up with a plan. Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yep. But even to write it down, I'll encourage people to write stuff down. Like, what's their intentions? Why are they there? Right.
Like, what's the goal of this time?
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get lost.
Yeah.
This particular game, golf, is so challenging that you start reacting to the shots you're not hitting so well.
Yeah.
Pretty soon your plan is shot. Right. But oftentimes if somebody writes it down or at least has it clearly in their mind that I'm out there to work on touching the grass with a club.
Yeah.
In this spot. Okay. Well, then they can just keep doing that. Even they're more resilient. So even if they start to struggle with something else, they're typically going to be more prone to actually stick to the plan.
Yeah. No, that's really good. That aligns so well with a guy I was talking to earlier this week. He was talking about being like hyper focused. And this sounds like the same thing. Like when you're practicing or when you're playing, just being hyper focused on like one aspect will make you a lot better than like just, I guess you're being more proactive versus being reactive
100%
in the time.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's the same. And to me, that's always been the beauty of golf is I find that it parallels life and business and relationships. It's kind of wild. I think a lot of sports do, but golf to me exemplifies it maybe more than some of the others.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're a counselor more sometimes?
Oh, yeah. I'm just not certified. Yeah. But I'm a professional counselor. Without the name on the wall.
Yeah.
I can forge that.
Yeah. You could just put MD before or whatever.
Yeah. The swing doctor. The
swing doctor Shea.
But it is. I mean, it's a very psychological game. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it happens up here before it ever translates to what the body's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of us get hung up in our mind. There's so much information out there, and that can be a gift and a curse. For most, it's actually a curse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Because we look into it and it's entertaining, and
people are on YouTube.
There's a lot of wonderful instructors and stuff that will support, put up a bunch of content. But it's pretty hard to sift through whether or not it actually applies to you.
Yeah, that individual. It's almost like
it's that targeted focus. So all of a sudden they jump in and they're doing 7 different things in a short span of time. As far as a golf swing goes, doesn't take long to make a golf swing. Yeah, and screw it up, and you're screwing it up in your head before you ever actually even grab the club.
Yeah,
Yeah. So because we can really only focus on one thing at a time. So I think it teaches a lot of awareness of those things. And like you said, the hyper focus is so important.
Yeah. So just chill out.
Yep.
Be hyper focused.
Yep. 2, work hard.
Yeah, work hard. Okay.
Hard.
Yeah, be consistent. Show
Don't
up. Work
expect,
hard.
you have to earn your results. I think there's been more than what Tiger Woods is one of them that said that in an acceptance speech for maybe the Golf Hall of Fame. But he talked about earning results. I'm a big believer in that. Completely agree.
Yeah. Earn your results. I really like that.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's just life.
It is.
I think there's so many people out there, whether it's generationally or whatever, they just they expect things to be handed to them. And, you hear a lot of the older folks griping on the younger folks and, not working hard and all that, and different generations and all that. But there is something to be said about understanding how to work hard.
Yeah. And not, golf isn't a game that provides a lot of instant gratification.
Yeah.
So much like life.
Yeah. Much like life.
Yeah. But the beauty is you reap what you sow.
Yep.
So if you go out there and put in all the efforts in the right place, then you should see benefit. And most do.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I run into anybody that's been working their tail off and doesn't see things improving. Every once in a while, there's those golfers out there that walk up with 2 buckets, and again, they don't have a plan. They're just thinking they're just going to hit balls and find it, right? Unfortunately, those golfers tend to struggle. If you're one of those, all right,
come see Shea.
Yeah, come see us. We'll help you.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of those golfers that just think they're just going to find it through sheer volume.
Yeah.
And they may get a little bit better, but they're not gonna see massive change.
Sure.
Right, unless there's actually a plan of action, and 2 buckets is too many, by the way.
Yeah, way too many.
It's too much.
Even 2 small buckets?
2 small buckets is okay. But 2 big buckets, stay away from those.
Yeah.
All you can do is hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And leave more frustrated.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
That's true. So tell me, from going to meeting this gentleman, and what was next? When you decided that you were like, hey, this is my passion. This is what I'm good at. I want to help coach people.
Yeah.
What was kind of next for you to step into that role of being a golf pro?
Sure. So I taught down there for a few years, full-time down in Phoenix, down in Surprise, Phoenix, Arizona. And so after that, I moved back up to Colorado. I not reconnected. I've always been connected with the gentleman over there, the head pro, Mike Radowski. He's another big mentor since I was 10 years old, since I got into golf.
Okay.
He's been much like a father figure for me.
Nice.
So went back to Cortez, started working for him as an assistant golf professional. Started giving lessons there as well. And then actually went back to school over here at Fort Lewis.
Nice.
And so that was always a goal of mine. Again,
Yeah.
I only went to CU for a year and a half. And so I didn't have a college degree yet, a bachelor's. And so I went back and finished up at Fort Lewis with an exercise science. I've always been interested in exercise, and physical kind of fits right into golf.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep. And so went back there. And while I was there, again, I worked in Cortez for, I want to say, a year. And then I actually worked up at Glacier Club for about 4 seasons. Again, teaching while I was in school. Golf. And then went to Hillcrest for a season. And then, believe it or not, jumped out of golf for 3 years.
Okay.
Not out of frustration with golf instruction or anything, as much as just had our first child and needed some year-round income.
Yeah.
The winters here was before simulators became really popular. And at the time, they were super expensive. And so it didn't seem like a great option, and got offered an opportunity to go do production chemical sales in the oil field over in Aztec.
Okay.
Lived in Durango, would commute over there and work in the San Juan Basin. Wasn't the best fit for me. It was a blessing though, because it made me really appreciate golf instruction a lot more. Again, I didn't get out of it due to any concerns that it wasn't successful. It was actually very successful. I was doing great.
Yeah.
But coming right into winter through the fall.
Yeah, that's a hard season.
A great friend of mine offered me a position that I was very appreciative for. And again, spent 3 years doing that. Talked to the ownership at Dalton Ranch. There was a opportunity to approach them about setting up a real formal instructional program.
Yeah.
Met with the wonderful ownership here and proposed, what I have now, which is Elevated Golf Academy, and 6 years strong.
Yeah.
And going. Yeah, it's growing every year. But that's pretty much how we ended up here.
Okay. Awesome. I loved a lot of what you said. So it was like you went on this almost a journey, and it didn't sound like it was an easy journey in some ways. Like it was like, hey, I went here and then I went here, but you were always constantly learning, even educating. But then you put what was important, right? Like, hey, I have to put my family first.
Absolutely.
And, I got to put my wife, and you have 2 beautiful kids that are 8 and 10 now.
7 and 10.
7 and 10.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because I've known them.
We've known each other for a while.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, Shiloh's 8.
Yeah.
Last time I remember Shiloh, he was like, yeah. So anyways,
he's 6 feet tall too.
Wow.
Well, we feed him.
He likes to eat.
He likes his milk.
Yeah.
Carton a day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
half of it's spilled, but that's
okay. That's awesome. So yeah, you put your family first. And I think there's a lot of people who don't necessarily learn how to do that in business. They're like, hey, I'm just going to put my head down. And I talk about this all the time, that people just go for stuff, which is great. The drive is great, especially when you get someone who's really driven, but then they get to the finish line and they don't have their family with them. Right.
True.
And it's just like, man, like you got to figure out how to, because we talk about, like, that's what this show is about, like Bare Fruit Life, finding someone with fruit on the tree to learn from them and let their ceiling be your floor. And then, but in all aspects of life, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, and relationally. Right. And so, you got these people who exceed in one area, maybe financially, but then relationally they're empty.
Yeah.
And they got to keep every single one of those buckets full. So just through, it sounds like maybe it was an easy decision, but you're like, hey, I got to do what's best for my family.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you came here, and Dalton's great. And
yep. The ownership group, the management team, can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful partnership.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's been good for both parties.
Yeah.
Especially mine. I got the best office.
Yeah. Heck yeah. You're getting the tan out there.
Absolutely.
And just enjoy. It's a little cold right now.
Sometimes.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes.
So what, we've talked about, a couple mentors so far. And you mentioned gentleman in Cortez. What was his name again? Micah.
Yep.
Okay. So what was one of the one things that you learned from him that really elevated your game of life? Maybe in business.
I'd like to think it goes back to the hard work. I don't know that I know a lot of people with the work ethic that he has, especially in the golf business. Not that the golf business is full of people that don't work. It's full of people that do work.
Yeah, sure.
But he's a gentleman. He still does it to this day. He works every day that he's in town. He's an incredible player. Plays in a bunch of major championships. He's a senior player now, so he's not only does he keep his game up, but he's incredible with people.
Yeah.
I think I learned a lot of that from him. Is he treats people right. He's always been kind. Always took care of me, and again the people around him. So he's very lovable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say work ethic and just how to treat people.
That's really good. Yeah, how to treat people, and that's a game changer. That's something that I've always known that, but I got reminded of it. But I was on a call with one of my mentors, and I was like talking about it, and he was like, and I was saying the person as a lead, and he, I'm in real estate and all that, and I was like, yeah, I was calling this lead, and he's like, I want you to think about something just a little bit differently. He's like, every single one of those leads, they're people, right? And I was like, oh yeah, like I know that, but like just hearing that was very different. It's like, hey, everybody has a heartbeat, everybody has problems, everybody has ups and downs, and so just hearing that was like, yeah, so it put back into perspective of like, hey, this isn't just a lead, this is a person.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether that person is nice to me or mean to me, like, whatever, it doesn't matter, but like how I treat that person, or think of that, not even think of that, like how I think of that person, like is really, really important.
Sure.
So, and it sounds like that was something that he taught you
100%.
Was just like, hey, how you treat people.
Yeah. And I saw him challenged, in the customer service business.
Sure.
You get challenged, you get people that are a little bit tough and they're having a bad day, something of that nature. And he always still handled them perfectly.
Yeah.
Never saw him get upset with people. It was always, trying to make their day better.
What is some of the things that you use? You may be giving away some tricks here, but what are some of the things that when someone comes out and maybe they're just either frustrated with their game or life or whatever, that you do to help them in that session?
Sure. So I take we'll call it a little bit more holistic approach. It's some of it depends on the relationship. If
Sure.
It's already if I've already formed that relationship, might be a student that comes to me consistently. And a lot of it, truth be told, it doesn't relate to golf, going back to the counseling side. And it's something I love about it because I get to form these incredible relationships and friendships, quite frankly, with a lot of the people.
Yeah.
And their, the kids and their families, but, talking to them. I mean, it's, listening, right?
Yeah.
You can tell when somebody's in a bad mood, and sometimes it is directly related to golf. It's brutal, it can be, and some of us take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
In the end, trying to put things in perspective, help somebody put things in perspective.
Yeah.
I think is a big key, helping them realize that it's not that important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Golf's very important to all of us, but at the same time,
it's not life and death.
It's not that important.
Yeah.
I'll tell a quick story if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
So had a gentleman that I worked with in the oil field, again, doing production chemical sales, named Rick Cartwright, ex-Special Forces.
Wow.
And so he spent some time overseas, in deployment. And we were playing actually around in Parachute, Colorado, at Battlement Mesa. And I've been known, I'm way better at it, but I used to have a little attitude on the golf course here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, get a little frustrated if things weren't going right. And so we're out there and he's not a very good golfer. He's, doesn't play much golf. And I seem to think I am. And so we're out there, we're playing, and we're a few holes into it.
Yeah.
And, I hit a bad drive and I'm frustrated and, visibly frustrated. And he goes,
sure.
he goes kind of like, well, what's your problem? I said, he says something that's not that bad. I'm like, yeah, it is. I just hit it out in the, out in the rocks. He's like, well, it could be worse. Could be getting shot at. And that has always stuck with me.
Wow.
And I tell that story regularly on the lesson tee because it was so impactful to me that just that simple statement, it could be shot at, because I know I'm talking to somebody that's been shot at.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's been in the service and been protecting us. And I'm like, you're right. And it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly, I snapped out of it.
Yeah. Great
But
perspective.
great perspective. Exactly. So it was a way of, aligning my perspective and changing my framework.
Yeah.
That's to good. Be able to go, okay, you're right. This really isn't that important. It's just a golf shot. I can go
just golf shot. Yeah.
Go find it, hit it out of the rocks.
Yeah.
Ruin a club. No big deal.
That's awesome. No, I love that story. I think, just putting things into perspective is good. And I had a friend tell me the same thing. He's like, hey man, like how often do you come out and play? I'm like, how much do you practice? I'm like, he's like, yeah, you're not a pro. Like just have fun.
That's
I'm
right.
Like, yeah, you're right.
And most of us play better when we're having fun anyways.
Exactly.
Right? Enjoy the experience. They don't put golf courses in ugly places.
No. Well, especially here. I mean,
especially here.
Durango, Colorado, Dalton Ranch. This is one of the most beautiful courses. I feel like people, it's underknown. I feel like.
Sure it is. It's like a hidden gem.
It is.
Yep. Full membership and everything, but like a hidden gem.
Yeah, it really is.
That way. No, just kidding.
Nobody else.
That's right. It's incredible. And then, but golf is, as in life, it's so much about, it's the company you keep. That's the other thing you got to look at is you're like, usually you get to go hang out with friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how bad can it be? Even a bad day on the golf course.
Yeah. Hanging out with good buddies.
And going, hanging out with my buddies or my family.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. That's awesome. So the one thing that you wanted to teach people was talking about the golden rule of golf. And you mentioned it, and we have mentioned it just naturally, but what is that?
So golden rule of golf is a spin on just the golden rule, right? So treat others how you want to be treated. That's something I was brought up with. I'm sure many of us were, but I think about it every day. I think about it with my own kids. I think about it with every student I interact with, every individual I interact with.
Yeah.
Essentially just treat them with kindness.
Treat them with kindness.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I'm old school in certain ways, I guess. At least I hope I am. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, it served you well, I feel like.
I think so. I try to. But that's what I would say is, call it the golden rule of golf.
Yeah.
Right. Treat others how you want to be treated. Golden rule of golf business, at least.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful in this business, Drew has told me, quite frankly, a lot of golf instruction is about entertainment to a certain extent. Now, do you need to know your stuff and be able to help somebody? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I tell the golf instructors that work with me, they're all wonderful, but we're out there to provide 45 minutes to an hour of just a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so obviously we want to help people. That's our intention, but ultimately we want them to have fun.
Yeah.
You
want people to have fun, and it's almost like an experience.
It is.
Like
it's an experience. Yeah. Yep. It's an experience.
Yeah.
And there's actually quite a few, maybe not so well-informed golf instructors that have a wonderful business because they're wonderful to be around.
Yeah. They're just enjoyable people.
Exactly. More power to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then if you can get both.
Yeah. Which you have.
Stuff,
you have both.
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah.
Then you can, not only help somebody, but you can have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
And they'll have a good time.
Nice.
Right. We all want to hit better shots and see some progress. But I get constantly told on the driving range over there to calm down. We're having a good time, it's all in fun, but we're laughing and they're like, you're not supposed to have fun over there. We're playing golf. I'm like,
you're missing something. You're missing something.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good. That's something I've always enjoyed about you, Shea, is that you just know I've had a good time no matter what it is. Like, it's just fun. And whether it's doing this or seeing you, in town or whatever, you just seem like you're just always a happy guy, enjoyable to be around. So I think that's awesome. So where can people find you if they're like, man, I want to get better at golf, or even maybe they're a golf instructor or considering being a golf instructor? Where can they find you and learn from you? Like,
Sure.
What's the best way to get hold of you?
Sure. So through the website, elevatedgolfacademy.com.
Okay. Awesome.
You can go there to book lessons. You can go there. You'll see my contact information. And so any instructors out there that happen to be listening, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome.
I've had a lot of help along the way, and I'd love to be that person for somebody else too.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll make sure it's on there. So, hey, appreciate your time, Shea. Thanks for joining us on the Bear Fruit Show. And, I think it's amazing what you're doing, and just the golden rule of golf, treating people, having fun, like treating people good, having fun. And, you kind of shared a little bit about what were some of the steps, just to remind me that you talked about earlier?
Yeah. So I don't know if we mentioned it, but I wanted to, I guess before we leave, reflecting is a big one to me. So be able to reflect on every lesson I give, every interaction I have. I feel like it's very important. And being able to, essentially, take constructive criticism, is important. So being able to reflect on those things, and most interactions, fortunately, are pretty good. But there's things I'd like to do differently, and that I like to think helps me grow.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm far from perfect, and I want to just continue to be able to grow. And so, taking that time to reflect is important.
Yeah. No, I agree, 100%. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Cool.